When it comes to massively co-op gameplay, World of Warcraft is the undisputed king. For over a decade and a half, Blizzard's crown jewel has delivered some of the most prolific and visceral raid encounters gaming has ever seen. Fans typically cite Throne of Thunder, Naxxramas, and Ulduar as some of Blizzard's finest work, but in my opinion, there's an often overlooked raid that elevated WoW's endgame more than any previously mentioned: Blackwing Lair. Following the success of the highly popular Molten Core and Onyxia, World of Warcraft released its third major raid on July 12, 2005. The raid, titled Blackwing Lair, featured 8 new boss encounters and, like its predecessors, was designed for a full 40-man team. Adventurers who had managed to slay Ragnaros the Firelord could now test their abilities against the impetuous Black Dragonflight, led by the ruthless mad scientist and son of Deathwing, Victor Nefarious. And test them they would. You see, Blackwing Lair wasn't your routine walk in the park. It was Blizzard's first attempt at revolutionizing World of Warcraft's raid design. Coming off the heels of what some players referred to as the Molten Boar, the pressure was on Blizzard to elevate WoW's endgame in a manner that could satisfy its most hardcore demographic. As fate would have it, Blizzard not only rose to the occasion, but exceeded any and all expectations by delivering one of the most unique and memorable raids of all time. I can't overstate just how big of a leap Blackwing Lair is from Molten Core. Everything in BWL, from its level design to its multi-dimensional encounters, was an objective improvement from what came before it. Let's start with BWL's level design. Blackwing Lair's brilliant aesthetic can be discerned from the moment you set foot inside the dungeon. Its entry hall is decorated with lush red banners and overhead chandeliers, a steep departure from the barren grey walkways in Molten Core. Scattered along the floor are rows of faintly glowing dragon eggs guarded by Razorgore the Untamed, BWL's first encounter. A crackling blue light beams from the monster's chest into a vibrantly pulsing orb located across the room. The look is curious but striking. It's clear that Blizzard was underwhelmed with Molten Core's lack of detail and wanted to take things to another level. Needless to say, mission accomplished. Each and every room in Blackwing Lair is simply beautiful, in a perverse and brutal sort of way. The Suppression Room, often criticized for its frustrating mechanics, is a visual treat for those who enjoy immersive design. Just look at the steam bursting from these mechanical devices. The animation perfectly exudes a sense of heat. Juxtapose that with patrolling dragons, and you can see how the Suppression Room achieves its sweltering vibe. Located further up the spire is Nefarian's secret lab. What was thought to be a private roost for a wanted criminal is revealed to be a vicious torture chamber, cluttered by the rotting remains of failed experiments. Lining the walls of this nightmarish corridor are a series of bubbling cauldrons and twisting vials, filled to the brim with the essence of red dragons. Compare this rich and expository atmosphere to the banal landscape of Molten Core, whose mundane tile set leaves little room for praise. The difference in quality is tremendous. The level design of Blackwing Lair is nothing short of masterful, especially for its time. It's a stunning example of how BWL elevated raiding to a whole new level, but it isn't the only example. World of Warcraft's encounter design also took a massive leap in Blackwing Lair, both in terms of encounter difficulty and complexity. Just look at Razorgore, the first boss of the raid. This 3-phase encounter features a slew of new mechanics and abilities, including Blizzard's first attempt at vehicle combat in a 40-man raid environment. After Razorgore comes Veilastraz, who was officially crowned World of Warcraft's deadliest creature, boasting over 42,000 player kills in a single day. Spend more than an hour progressing on Veil, and you'd be forced to watch as the dragon despawns before your eyes for the remainder of the lockout. Veilastraz was such a headache that he was later dubbed by the community Veilastraz the Guildbreaker, due to the sheer number of guilds collapsing under the heat of his burning adrenaline. It's true that Classic WoW's raid difficulty has been overstated in recent years, but that doesn't mean Blackwing Lair is a cakewalk. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that most guilds won't clear BWL their first raid night, especially not on launch week. That's because Cro-Magus, the penultimate boss of the instance, employs a bronze brute affliction that periodically stuns affected players, including tanks and healers. The only way to dispel the affliction is to use an item called Hourglass Sand, which drops solely off the trash in BWL. If you run out of sands before killing Cro-Magus, a common occurrence for new guilds, you probably won't get to Nefarian that first week. And even if you do, good luck facing the Lord of Blackrock Spire, whose gargantuan ability list rivals that of some modern WoW bosses. Compare that with Ragnaros, the final encounter in Molten Core, whose ability list could be mistaken for a trash mob in Dazzar Allure. I'm telling you, Blackwing Lair took the difficulty knob established in Molten Core and cranked it up to 11. Obviously, it's not Mythic Ashara hard, but I suspect that come February 12th, when BWL officially releases in Classic WoW, many guilds will be in for a rude awakening. And I haven't even talked about the trash yet. Dear Lord, the trash. From fire-calling warlocks to kamikaze engineers, BWL trash is a pain in the butt. You thought lava reavers were bad? Let me introduce you to my good friend, Blackwing Technician. It didn't matter where you were in the instance, there was always some annoying mob ready to insta-gib you if you weren't careful. Planning on taking your MC Pug into Blackwing Lair week 1? Might want to hold off on that for a couple of weeks. Or months. Yo, Todd! I could go on and on about BWL's difficulty, but I think you get the point. At the end of the day, the heightened difficulty is just one of many examples as to how the dungeon pushed the World of Warcraft raiding experience to a whole new level. So up until now, we've spent the video praising Blackwing Lair's level design and encounter design. Those two components are crucial to the success of any raid and any expansion, but what makes Blackwing Lair unique is that its presence extends beyond its own boundaries, and in many ways, captures the subtle RPG elements that most modern raids ignore. From legendary questlines to cheeky fourth wall puns, Blackwing Lair excels at delivering the RPG aspect of MMORPG. Let me give you an example. In BWL, Nefarian's Shadow Flame ability can literally one-shot raiders not equipping an Onyxia scale cloak. Where do you get the cloak? It's a craftable item, the pattern for which is obtained through a quest in your faction's capital city. So to even have a shot at downing Nefarian, you need a raid group capable of defeating Onyxia, a max-level skinner who has the Finkel skinning dagger from UBRS, and a leather worker who can effectively craft the Oni cloak with enough scales to supply 40 people with the item. Talk about bringing the RPG to MMORPG. The Oni cloak is but the first of many small yet subtle details that enrich the experience and highlight the traditional RPG mechanics that made the genre what it is today. Another small detail would be the suppression devices in the suppression room. You had to be a rogue with a disarm trap ability to disable the traps and their slowing effect. Without a few competent rogues who've trained the ability in the raid, getting through the suppression room would be almost impossible, thus giving that class their moment in the sun. Now of course, class-exclusive abilities like this aren't balanced or fair, but what has balance brought us in WoW, aside from homogenization and pruning? Instead of fighting the unique RPG aspects of World of Warcraft's class design, Blackwing Lair embraces them to give the instance some extra flavor and uniqueness. And to be honest, that's something we could use more of in modern MMOs. Blackwing Lair isn't the most popular raid in the Warcraft fandom. That award probably goes to Ulduar or maybe even Naxxramas. Nevertheless, BWL pushed World of Warcraft raiding in ways no other raid tier did, and established a gold standard for what endgame PvE could look like in an MMORPG. Later raids were bigger, harder, and in some cases more detailed, but none blazed a trail as impactful and pioneering as Blackwing Lair. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I have a confession to make. This is the type of content I love making the most. Analyzing games and breaking down the elements that made them special, that's my favorite part of YouTube. I wish I could make more videos like this, but because they take so much time, it's hard to pump them out on a consistent basis. But if you guys really enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, leave a like down below, and if we hit, I don't know, 3,000 likes, I'd be happy to put in more time to produce some more. Just let me know what you want to see in the comments below. And for more classic WoW and gaming content, you can check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/tipsoutbaby. Have a wonderful day, fellas. I'll see you guys on Twitch, and as always, tips out, baby.